we're live, sir.
Great. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Summers Board of Selectmen, April 28, 2022. And first thing I'd like to do is Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's on.
Next item on the agenda is a roll call. On my right, I have Selectman Meyer. My left, Selectman Schmidt. We also have Cfo, Chief Financial Officer Mike Marinaccio, Deputy Director of Finance Brian Wistinger, Tax Collector Lisa Madden, Social Services Director Allison Maynard, Zoning Enforcement Officer Jen Roy, and Director of Recreation and Leisure Services Maureen Parcells. Thank you. I don't believe we have any public comment this evening. We have to also have Joanne Nichting, our librarian.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We have no public comment this evening. We have no executive session. I have no presentations from the First Selectman. Boards and commissions, consent agenda, there is none. Finance report. Transfers and amendments, we have none of those, okay. Cfo Financial Report.
I have a couple of items. Just a reminder, next Tuesday is the annual town meeting, May 3rd. It's here in the auditorium. Just a reminder for everyone that that's going to be happening.
7 o'clock?
7 o'clock.
To vote on the budget.
To vote on the budget and to vote to send that budget to referendum.
Right.
That's really the purpose of it. So.
Yep, we got it.
To referendum, right, got it.
The other item I have is based on a meeting with the Board of Finance on Tuesday evening. They've approved the remaining ARPA projects that were before them that came through CIP. So you have in front of you an updated listing totaling $2.702,401. It leaves us $489,130 for reserved for future projects is what they want that to be at this point. So I don't believe they're going to be entertaining anything unless it's of more of an emergency nature in the near term anyway, because we actually have until the end of 2024 to appropriate that money. So
what does that mean, reserved for future projects?
Yeah, well, it's to have, if there are
They're not gonna look at
future
anything that comes in the
projects,
next couple of months, but they're gonna...
well, it would, I guess it would depend, and we also have to make sure that there could be overages, so we don't wanna go over, and, so we wanna have some contingency built in there also,
Okay.
so.
All right. Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah. That's it for the financial report.
Okay. Approval of scheduled payments. Okay. A motion for approval.
Yeah, I could have you make that motion to, for us to approve, authorization of the payments for the period of from April 14th to April 28th for a total of $453,491.37.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Just one question, page 3, GEI Consultants Incorporated for $29,325.
That is the last payment of the Phase 3 study at the mill site.
Yeah, they've been working on that for
That's
about
grant funded.
That's
2
grant
years.
funded, right?
Yeah.
We're actually waiting for,
State grant.
for the check to post, and then we can
DECD.
submit. We had a phone call today with DECD, and we'll submit for reimbursement once the check is posted. We'll have all the payments ready at that point.
Can't wait till we get the new financial software so I can see the funding source and the check easily on there. Okay, that was all I had.
Well, that's why we have Brian, right?
Yeah.
Funding source right here.
Yeah, I also asked, I reviewed several things with Brian earlier today, and one of the questions I had dealt with Stadronsky and Meter, LLC, of course, it's a law firm. This is on page 4 or 5,
Uh-huh.
3/4 of the way down the page,
Mhm.
for $12,109.75. And we have spent with this firm, $27,874 to date. And, I would like there to be some kind of a cost-benefit analysis done, just as to what do we anticipate coming out of this,
This is the assessment,
case.
firm.
Yeah, this is the one for the,
Solar.
solar farm up on Bilton Road.
Well, there's also the second case as well, there was one at trial.
Yeah, there was
Both
an
combined, though.
appraisal, right, appraisal of the property.
One is land and the other is, personal property.
But it's still the same law firm, right?
Yeah, it
The
is.
builder
Yeah,
on the
exactly.
second case.
Yeah.
Same
Two
location.
projects.
Same location too.
Okay,
All right. Okay. You,
okay. But no, I agree with you, I think, yep.
all those in favor of, the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes, thank you.
Sign it.
Yeah, got it right here. Pending business, discussion and possible approval of the ARPA funds final distribution procedure. So I'd like to ask, Mike Marinaccio, our CFO, and tax collector Lisa Madden to explain what we've done, what we've accomplished recently and where we are, and what we expect in the future.
So on Tuesday evening, the Board of Finance approved the appropriation in the amount of $459,279.50. The report I gave you rounded it up to $460,000. So, what we're gonna go through here are 5 documents, which are really the tail end of the entire process, which wraps up the process. And along the way, we answer any of your questions. So your package has essentially 5 documents in it. I'm going to cover the first 2, which would be, the timeline for completion, a grant agreement, and then after that, Lisa will cover, the overview of how the project was conducted, and a breakdown of the awards, and then a listing of the recipients and their amounts. So I'll start off with the first form here. On the left-hand side, as you look at the 2 columns, is the responsible party and then the due date for each one of the actions that appear in the right-hand side, in the right-hand column. And so this evening, on April 28th, at this meeting, we'll get a vote to approve the grant agreement and the selectmen to sign, first Selectman Tim to sign that grant agreement after we've reviewed it. So that's the next item up. Then on May 2nd, we will post to the website the materials that we've presented here tonight. The summary sheet and the tier matrix will be the 2 items that we will be posting. On that same day, Monday, we're going to print the award notification letters and also email them out. We have the email addresses of all of the applicants, and so we'll be able to do that rather than use the post office. We'll do that with a grant agreement attached to it and a W-9 for IRS, so that we can get the tax ID numbers. Then they have 10 days, and also on the following Thursday, May 12th, is our application deadline. We'd like to get their signed grant agreements returned to us at that time. And then the following Monday, on May 16th, after that deadline, the Finance Department will be preparing the award checks. We'll give them Monday and Tuesday to do that. On Wednesday, we'll have the treasurer, I'll be reviewing the scheduled payments report as I do for all your scheduled payments prior to going out. All of these payments will be in their one batch themselves, so they don't get commingled with any other, so you'll be able to review that. And then on the following on that next day, Thursday, May 19th, at your regular meeting, you will approve, or you'll be scheduled to approve those payments. And we will actually have the checks here physically. Our tax collector will be the custodian of that, and anyone who is a recipient, award recipient, can actually physically pick up their check at that meeting.
Okay.
Next page, the following Monday, for those who do not make the meeting, we will mail out, U.S. mail, the checks that weren't picked up. We also plan to receive the consultant's final report, which will be similar to the one that the East Windsor report. And then we will then also post to our webpage all of the materials that we have, the report included. So that's the timeline. Is there any questions you have on that?
Very clear to me.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. And the next item up is the sample contract that we have. Well, it's actually a grant agreement, so obviously what we send out won't have that heading on it. And I'm not going to go through the detail of this. It's a 5-page document. I'm sure Attorney Parks would love for me to do that, but I'm going to skip it. The couple of items I do want to point out here is that there are various conditions to receiving these grant funds. And item number 1 in this agreement is a use of funds item. There's actually 15 items under that, 15 separate items. The most important one of which is number A. It asks the recipient to state, attach an Exhibit A that states the purpose of what they're going to be doing with the funding. I think that had been expressed earlier by the Selectmen, wanting to make sure that something like that did exist.
Are we giving them permitted uses though? I mean, like things that would be allowed and not allowed?
Yeah, it's all in under the use of funds, yeah.
Yeah, this agreement basically says they can't go to Foxwoods and spend the money. It says they can't invest in
But it
the
actually
stock
says you
market.
can't go and gamble with it too. That's one of the items.
Yeah.
This agreement has been reviewed by the town attorney, and it's gotten his approval, so. So some of these are just very obvious.
Of course, the expectation is what they write down is gonna be correlated directly to what their
Yeah.
loss was.
I mean, as you read through these conditions, you say to yourself, wow, this is just pretty obvious stuff, but then again, it does, I believe, should be mentioned.
No, it's a good agreement. I think the
Yeah.
agreement itself is
Yeah.
well written. I think that it's not obvious, and that the fact that we're expecting them to self-complete Exhibit A, I think it's gonna kind of put us all over the place. I mean, almost I think a checklist may be better to say, like, what are your uses of the fund? Facilities improvement, hiring more staff, whatever, and then maybe other, to kind of give them a little bit of a framework, you know what I'm saying?
We already have a listing of what their losses are though.
Well, that's my next, I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, well, I think obviously.
So there is, so there's also a representation section, section 4. Again, the most important item under there is the first item, which says that the application and the statements that were contained therein are true and accurate and complete as of the date, and sworn by them under penalties of perjury. So that is an item that is in there also. So, I mean, this is a condition of the funding. If anyone is uncomfortable signing this, well, then we will not be able to provide them with that funding. It's a condition of receiving the funds.
So the contract addressed a lot of things, I think it's well,
Yeah.
so I'm comfortable with the contract.
So, I think you probably would need a motion to authorize the first selectman to sign this contract, so that it can be attached to his, award letter to the recipients.
Just do that at the end, 'cause I got a couple of questions about the next
Okay.
thing. And I agree with you, I'm fine with that, yep.
And, with that, I'm just gonna move on to Lisa and let her explain, an overview of the entire program. Very much the way she explained it to the, Board of Finance the other night, so.
Let's just get that motion up front, just so we have the motion on the table for,
And then have discussion and.
yeah, of course,
Not
I
vote,
think
okay.
that's the usual procedure. Have a motion, get seconded, have discussion. Somebody wanna make the motion?
Make a motion to have you, sign the contract, is that what it is?
Yeah,
What it is?
yeah.
Yeah, I'd be happy to make a motion to, have Mr. Keeney sign the, contract for this, is it for the small businesses and the nonprofits?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Thank you. Open for discussion. I should, go ahead,
Sure.
Lisa. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Nice to be here. So, last Thursday, we were in front of CIP, and we went through the entire process, and they approved us for the $459,279.50. They did like the tiered program. This allowed everyone to get distributed. There was over $1 million in loss, and the big thing to note is all of these losses occurred after March 3rd, 2021. When people hear COVID relief or any kind, they're automatically, everyone goes to 2020, and that's what most of the applications talked about too, is 2020, and those dollar amounts don't apply. So whenever we got those applications, our third-party consultant, George, had to turn back around and reach out to these people individually, sometimes many times, to say, look, no, this only covers from March 3rd, 2021 to present. So it's only in the last 12 months. And so, that being said, it brought a lot of numbers down. Some people provided financial, some didn't, because they don't have tax returns done. The idea behind it is, what extra PPE did they need? How many, in daycares, how many people did they lose because people are working from home? The increase in building supplies for construction workers, for electrical contractors, for plumbers, that kind of stuff. So each application was reviewed by the third-party consultant with every single applicant. So there was 109 approved applications, and since we had a maximum budget of $500,000, we're like, how can we make this work? Our original idea before we got all the applications was, let's do a tiered percentage, you know what I mean? The net X number of loss, and they would get that percentage. But if we did that, not one person would even get $5,000, and we thought that would be like false advertising. We're saying up to $10,000, and the highest award would have been $4,900. We didn't feel comfortable with that. So we decided to do a tiered program for businesses. For nonprofits, we said we want to make them whole up to $10,000 before they give 100% back to the community. So we came up with 7 tiers for the businesses, ranging from, if you were under 1,000, you got nothing. We actually had no applications for that. And then if you lost over $250,000 as a direct result from COVID after March 3rd, 2021 to March 31st, the date that the applications were due, you would receive the highest grant of $10,000. And then it goes down from there. Majority of them are right in the middle between the $25,000 and $50,000. That was a $2,500 reward. So that total for businesses for $364,250. The nonprofits, we had 11. We did have 14, but we did have some disqualify for various reasons. They didn't have a federal tax ID, they weren't considered tax exempt at the time, or they weren't considered charitable, giving back 100% to the entire community. And so their award is $95,029.50. So of this $459,279, 20%, a little over, would go to nonprofits, and 80% to the businesses.
Very good. Thank you.
So I think the nonprofits are pretty clear cut. I mean, number one, I said thanks for volunteering to kind of take on this extra duty and to kind of oversee and lead this. I know it's quite a bit of work.
It's fun. I enjoy helping the community. I see the taxpayers when they come in, and we change the aura, or, we want the tax to be a friendly office. And so by doing something like this as well, it, puts a good face to the name and allows people that, we can come in and ask questions.
Right, right. But I mean, I know that, I guess my concern, I saw the example application. I mean, I want to look through more applications, before we vote on the checks. But I mean, which I know is not tonight, but I mean, I thought, my opinion, the numbers seemed grossly inflated by the business. I think there was nothing to back them up. I mean, I think almost all of the expenses were either reimbursable, or I think my question would be, what was made up? I mean, say at some point in the year you think you lost business, and these are hypothetical. I don't even know that they were necessarily year-over-year comparisons. Like, hey, 2019, I did $100,000 gross business. And then you say, well, I was projecting 20% growth, I was projecting to do 120, so I did 80, so I lost 40,000.
Well,
you know?
Brett,
I'm not sure that's the way it was done.
that's not how ARPA works. Anyway, the ARPA funding, and it wasn't even a complete fiscal year.
So what do you mean
this
the
time.
ARPA funding?
The ARPA funding is to help back to the community, and we're not asking for financials, otherwise we would have had to ask for financials from every single person. In addition, we're not asking for an actual calendar year. It's from March 3rd, 2021 to whatever day they sent the application in. So many people didn't even have their tax returns done by the time they submitted the application for March 1st. And people are signing that, they're swearing to this against perjuries and penalties. You know, at some point, we have to say, we have to believe in people. You know, these are our residents, and if they're swearing to that fact, then this is what we have.
Well, they didn't swear on the application.
They did.
Yeah, there was.
There was a
No,
check,
there was no,
there was a
that
check
statement, I
mark.
read the statement, and I've done these cases.
Okay.
This contract has a full statement in there. You could not prosecute someone based on that application. It doesn't meet the statutory requirements.
I'm not sure we really wanna prosecute anybody on this. This is a
Yeah.
grant program to
This-
help the community.
Well, if you lie, I mean, you're taking
Yeah.
taxpayer money.
And we,
But then everyone will know because every single person that's awarded is gonna be on the website. It's public information.
Well, but I guess my point is that it didn't seem like there was a level playing field. I think some people were honest, and I think deserving. And again, I wanna look through more of the applications to see it, but I mean, the one I saw, it just seemed to me like a grossly inflated number. You know, I would be very curious to see what was made up. I mean, I just Googled the business, and, cause the money's out there for, you know, there was the PPP, I think there was a couple rounds of those.
But that was
as
not
well.
applicable, cause those were for a time period
Well,
before
there was a
March 31,
PPP though
2021.
in the following, there was some stuff in the following year, there were loans that were forgiven,
Yeah.
and then there was the EPS one as
that's
well.
correct, and the PPP,
You know, so a lot of their
that-
losses they're claiming are from people being out with COVID.
Well,
that would
if
cover
you're gonna,
their
if you're gonna,
tax
you're
credit.
gonna have all,
Right.
if you're gonna have all these questions,
Right,
we're gonna have George Kribda in here to answer them, because he indeed is the expert.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
And
if you wanna go
PPP
through every application,
Yeah,
you can
'cause
do that too.
the 3 binders that George has.
So, you know, in the purpose of the PPP was actually to keep your workers in, so it was payroll money to keep people employed. And it doesn't really have anything to do with the loss of the business per se. So it was just helping the business keep people employed. So, yeah, they got PPP, but it shouldn't even
But then there was
have
a
anything
loan
to do.
program after that, so there was PPP.
But it was PPP and it was
But then there was a
forgiven by the
separate
government.
program.
And the government forgave them
There was a
of those
loan
loans.
program to businesses as well.
Yeah. Yes, there was some small business loans, true.
Significant money.
Yeah.
It wasn't small, I mean, it
And
was
I would
significant
venture to
money.
guess, Bill, that you add up all those and it still wouldn't add up to all the losses that they had, so that's, you know, and we're not here to audit everybody, we call it a grant program, you know, so.
Well, it seems more to be like a giveaway program, is it, cause I mean, we're not looking at financials, we're not verifying it, it's not apples to apples. Again,
Well,
I think a significant number of the businesses had losses and we're giving them money. And I think for the nonprofits, this is a great thing,
Yeah.
you know, but I think what I just heard now is, people just claim what they claim, we take them at their word, you can kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, you
Well,
could say, hey, I expected to do 50% more business next year, I
We
didn't.
were following the ARPA program guidelines. Nowhere
But there
in
were no-
there does it say you need to look at their financials before
But
you
there
can give
were
them
no
a grant.
guidelines from ARPA, that's
So-
the point, we created this program, this is not a federal program, this is a summer league.
Right, and we were asked to, that's right, and we were asked to create such programs and to have documentation of what we did. And believe me, we have plenty of documentation which will stand up to any audit, so.
And I might also just add that the Board of Finance members also expressed concern at the very beginning of the process and thought it was just a giveaway. But every single one of them, once this program was explained to them, and they heard from George Kribda and saw the documents, voted unanimously to support this. So you're really out of sync.
Well, I don't know if I'm out of sync, I think maybe.
Well, I
I'm
think you're out of
kind
sync with everybody else.
Well, I don't know, I mean, I think we just heard what I just said. I mean, I haven't heard anyone say anything different. I mean, we've done nothing to verify it. I think that businesses are reporting whatever they wanna report.
Well,
You know, I mean,
what
there's
is
no,
it, what
like-
is it that you would have liked to have seen that you don't see now?
Well, I mean, there's
That
some,
makes you question whether we should be even writing these checks.
I mean, like, tax returns are a pretty good barometer of profit. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if they gave us tax returns to say, hey, in 2019 I had this much, in 2022 I had this much, I lost $50,000, that's pretty good. But we don't have anything. I mean, I saw the sample application. It was all, I mean, in my opinion, made up numbers. You know? I mean, literally made up numbers. So I mean, let's come in, I wanna look at, again, I saw one out of 100, I mean, maybe 90 of them were great. You know, so I'll make an appointment, we'll come in, I'll look through some of it, and then we can follow back up, but, I mean, for tonight, I'm okay with it. You know, 'cause we're not voting on checks tonight, you know, any specific checks, we're just voting on, the contract looks good, you know. I think some of the process stuff was okay, so that's all.
So are you saying that after the award letters have been sent out by Tim, and these contracts have been signed, you're going to come in at some point during the week and review this stuff, and then not vote for a payment based on your review, is that it?
Well, I think if a business grossly misrepresented their application,
How do you know that?
And then what evidence
Well, I
will
think
you
we look
have
at
to
the
support that
application.
conclusion?
So I guess my question to you, Tim, would be, who has actually looked at the applications?
George?
We have a committee.
One
We have a whole
person.
committee.
We have a
The
committee,
committee
that-
looked at every application.
committee that Mike chaired,
The
and
committee looked at every committee member
They did.
looked at every single, they
They
didn't look
did.
at George's summary, they looked
No.
at the actual application.
Oh,
did.
absolutely.
Like a
You even got
3-hour-long
emails.
meeting.
So you guys have photocopies made of them all and stuff?
I have PDFs of every single original
Yeah.
application.
Well, I asked for them, I asked for the PDFs, could you send them to me?
It's easier for you to get the hard copies because it's just literally a
I mean,
1,000 pages.
PDFs, you drag and drop it and just send me an email, or put them on a thumb drive.
Whatever you, give them
Yeah,
whatever
if you have
want.
electronic copies, that's what I asked for a
You
couple
can have
weeks
whatever
ago.
you want.
So those
I
are
don't
the
recall
original
that.
applications, and then George would turn around and follow up, and all that correspondence is in George's book.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Well, I'm not overly concerned, I think you guys did a fine job,
Thank
and
you.
I also like to say that 80% of the, you know, grants are for $5,000 or less, so I don't think a lot of, you know, people were asking for outrageous amounts of money. Looks very reasonable.
I'd just like to say something here. As the head of this project, you know, we had a very disciplined project plan. We went out and hired a consultant to help us. We looked at what other places did. We tried to fashion something for the community, so that businesses could have some assistance in what was a very difficult time for them. Every step of the way, we consulted with the first selectman, we gave you updates, we spoke to CIP, we got initiatives passed through their level of scrutiny, and we even appeared before the Board of Finance, where at times it seemed very tentative that we may get that approval, but in the end we did. And it's just a real slap in the face of this community to be second-guessed at this time, that's all.
This
That's
is the
all I
first
have to
time we've
say.
been involved in
That's
it.
all I have to say. I don't think Selectmen you had the opportunity to come in. I know, Selectman Schmidt came in and looked at all the records that were in the office.
Yes, I did.
So, you know, we have always said we've had an open book here.
Yeah,
And all this stuff is going to be in the, town clerk's office when we're done, so.
yeah, and I'm fine,
That's all- I mean, that's the end of my remarks.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Mike, one last
No.
thing, Bill, to think
Yeah.
of, is the potential grant awards that we're giving to the businesses are minimal percentage-wise in comparison, even if you think their loss is inflated. If they lost $240,000, our award is only $7,500. So I mean, they're still not getting 100%, not even close.
Well, my point is that a level playing field for all the businesses. So I agree with you that and Bob, I agree with you that they're small amounts, but if somebody, you know, lost legitimately $100,000, they're getting less money than someone that inflated $250,000 and gets more money. You know, it didn't give, but I mean, Mike, to your point here, and I'm not attacking you or any town staff that did this, but for instance, the consultant, the application was so confusing that nowhere on the application does it say that losses after March of 2021. So the applications are full
it
of
did.
stuff underneath.
It did say that.
On the application?
But the consultant went
Yeah.
back and spoke to
Specifically.
every single
Did
one.
you
Well, he
read,
revised
did you
it.
read the application?
I did.
Did you? You didn't see the fact that it mentioned March 3, 2021?
Well, they must have revised it then, because the initial one that was put out didn't. Did they revise it, Mike?
No,
I believe it says it,
no, they just choose if it was not
I know that
part
at one
of the
point
process.
we had to add a checkbox about being,
we
And
did revise
town.
that.
because we got a couple applications
Yeah.
from like California and stuff. but
Right,
I don't
that
know.
And the date, I think, was revised as well.
I'm not sure about the date.
Yeah.
I know for sure that
Well, again, I think that, we have a very rare opportunity with the Board of Selectmen to recognize the importance of small businesses and nonprofits in this community. And I think this was a great opportunity to do so. I think we did it in a very forthright manner, in a very objective and professional manner. And I think it's a little bit, late to be reviewing every single application and questioning in what you think are and might be inflated figures. But if you wanna do it, you can come in on Monday, cause we're mailing these out Monday afternoon.
You're not mailing out checks, you mail out the contracts,
We're gonna mail out the contracts
which is fine,
and notify them of
Yeah,
their
that's
award.
fine. That's fine, okay, thank you.
You gotta finalize the motion on the
Yeah.
contract.
We have a motion on the floor with regards to the, sample.
Yep, so let's sign
Contract.
it, it's fine.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay, next item is under new business. The first item is discussion and possible approval of local traffic authority for the 2022 Summers High School senior class parade route. This is something that the high school has done, this would be the third year in a row or fourth year in a row.
Yeah, I can speak.
Todd Rowland's gonna talk about this.
Todd
Public
Rowland,
Works Director.
Public Works, and, Deputy Director of Resignations. We started this, to give the seniors, a send-off, if you will, during COVID, because they couldn't meet in person, and it was greatly well received because of that. They wanna continue this tradition where the seniors drive around, I believe you have the route in front of you, the fire department meeting and providing traffic control by our police department as well. So it's really, there's no cost to the town, there's no real impact on traffic. This is a moving, just the kids waving out of their cars. So we think it's a great idea, and we'd like to continue this practice.
Go through my neighborhood, no problem.
They always
Nice.
come through my neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah, every year.
Make a motion to approve the, plan for the senior parade as, presented.
Second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the, under new business is the library staffing requests.
Yeah, come over here. I have your
Miss
thing
Nick.
right here, so.
Yeah, it's helpful to speak into the microphones because the sound system is something we hope to improve
It's
shortly.
going to be improved.
Okay.
Not too great.
So I don't know, how in-depth this is my first time since I've been here, so, but
We
I.
have all those copies too.
Okay, so I have 3 people that I am recommending for hire at the library. I believe you have their letters there in front of you. These are all part-time positions. The funding is in the current budget, and if the, fiscal year 23 budget is approved, it would be in there as well. They're all part-time positions. 2 of them are for circulation staff, so primarily working the front desk. And one of them is for a assistant to our children's librarian, which will help her because she's gonna take over the responsibilities for the teen area that previously we had a teen librarian in there, so, it's actually a cost-cutting, measure by doing this, so we'll be, using an existing professional staff to handle that rather than hiring another professional, so therefore we can have a part-time person come in to assist her with her other duties at a lower rate of pay, so, I gave you a little information in there about the background. I don't know if you want me
Impressive.
going over
Yeah.
all that.
No, it looks good.
No, it looks great, very
Right.
clear and easy to understand.
Nicely presented.
How many openings do you have after this?
None.
So you're full.
Yeah,
I'm full.
good stuff.
It's good
Yeah.
news.
Yeah, very good news.
Maybe, I mean, it'd also be helpful, not tonight, but I'm saying in a few months, to come back and present to us kind of the follow-up, you know, kind of where we're at, numbers-wise, where we see the
Yeah.
library going, you know, just so we know, but this all looks great.
Okay, great.
A motion,
Yeah, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve,
Hiring.
the hiring of, Ms. Susan Cowan, Ms. Jessica Johnston, and Ms. Cheyenne West.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Monday, okay.
Next item is,
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Director Allison Maynard, Social and Youth Services. staffing request.
It's you, to the Board of Selectmen, I don't know.
Good evening, Alison Maynard, Director of Social and Youth Services. So, tonight I am presenting, the Youth Services Coordinator position, which is a new position for the rest of this fiscal year. It'll be funded through our YSB money, starting July 1. It will be funded 12 hours a week through YSB funds, the remaining 8 would be through ARPA funds. And I am recommending Eden Connors, who is a current intern of the department, to fill that position.
And this is the Youth Services Coordinator.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So I think what we have to do, we have to approve the job I saw you emailed the job description out.
Correct.
I think we'd approve the job description and then approve the hire altogether, or separate, but I mean, they're kind of one and the same.
We'd
Yeah.
seen the job
That's a good-
description, by
yeah.
the way, we looked at that and used that in our support of the SIP
Yeah.
request,
Yeah, so
back
you-
on the 17th
No,
of
it
March.
looks great, we just never approved it.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good.
And we could,
So you can make the
Well,
motion
we-
tonight.
The SIP, we didn't make an approval for. we
No, just the
recommended.
monies, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, so I would make a motion, to approve the proposed job description for Youth Services Coordinator, and then to hire, Eden Connors, as presented by our director.
Okay.
second?
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, am I still here?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you-
Yeah,
you
go here.
You get another one.
Don't go anywhere.
I thought there was something in between me and that.
No,
Okay.
no, I put you right together.
Okay, that makes sense. So this position, is also a new position, which will be funded through ARPA. This is a summer camp social worker, to help support, the rec department. So the person will report to me, but will be, stationed at primarily Field Road to help support the social emotional needs of our youth. And this, we would be looking to post. So this is just to approve the position. I do not have an individual identified or recruited, for this position yet.
This is the youth services position.
No,
so
this
this
is
is, yeah,
the
we,
camp social worker.
The camp social
Mhm.
worker, okay, I'm sorry,
Yep.
I got confused, that, yes, the department, but I got it now.
yeah, yep,
And what's the proposed salary?
Page 4.
9,600.
Just got it. Okay.
It's just like, essentially like a stipend for
Yeah, yep, for the summer. So, Maureen and I, will obviously work together to figure out the best schedule for this individual, but, it'll be, we've discussed about 30 hours a week for 8 weeks covering.
Okay, so I mean, they'll get paid an hourly rate, but it comes out to 9,600.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes sense.
Got it.
$9,600 in total.
Correct,
Right, great,
yep.
thank you. A motion for approval of the camp social worker position description.
Yeah, I'd be happy to make a motion to approve the, job description of the camp, social worker position.
Second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you both, all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have acceptance of resignations. I have a letter written to the Town Board of Selectmen from Mr. Robert Wheeler saying, "Dear Select Board, it is with great sadness and excitement that I write this letter to all of you. After 20 years with the Town of Somers as a career firefighter, along with 12 previous years of volunteering at the Somers Fire Department, I'm announcing my retirement as of June 30, 2022. I want to thank everyone, starting with the late Chief Malcolm Keary from 1989 to 1990, to Chief Roach, for all they have done for me in my profession. I will greatly miss responding to calls within the Town of Somers and nearby towns, but feel it's time to move on. I figure I've responded to approximately 10,000 calls in my career, and have luckily had the opportunity to attain the rank of lieutenant within the department. I was also able to become a paramedic, which was a long-time goal since the passing of my best friend, Craig Arnone. I sincerely appreciate the honor of being able to work for the Town of Somers, and wish everyone a great success in the future. Best regards, Robert Wheeler, Lieutenant Paramedic, Deputy Fire Marshal."
Sounds great. Do we need to have a
Motion to accept this resignation.
Yeah.
Second.
Make a motion to accept, the resignation of Robert Wheeler as a, paramedic deputy fire marshal.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Next is the resignation of Sandra Quadrozy. And her letter is a little bit briefer. It says, this is to inform you that my last day of work will be Thursday, April 28th, 2022. She signed it, Sandra L. Quadrozy. She's worked for the library, right? She's a part-time library
Yep.
worker. Do we have a motion to accept her resignation?
Yeah, I'd be happy to make a motion to accept the resignation of, Sandra L. Quadrozy, Anita's library.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I mean, Joanne left, I mean, does this now give us an opening, or did someone we just hire?
I think
I
somebody
think
that she
someone
was
just
hiring.
hired is filling this
I
position.
think we,
Yeah.
She's known about this for
Okay,
for a while. so.
Yeah.
okay, just wanted to make sure.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item is discussion and possible action on Connecticut Partnership Plan 2.0, plan renewal and authorizing the first selectman to sign the agreement. This is the reoccurring health plan that is available to all Summers full-time employees. And let's see, what else do we know about this? It's a 3-year enrollment in the state health plan. This is the standard health plan, by the way, that we take advantage of. That includes the Anthem for medical, Caremark for pharmacy, and Cigna for dental benefits coverage.
What are the changes for this renewal?
Nothing.
Are we enrolling in the prescription discount program for the employees that they're offering now?
We haven't received anything on
Okay,
that.
they have a prescription, I met with them today, they offer a prescription
Oh.
discount program
Okay.
now. It's like one of those, like discount cards for the pharmacy or whatever, but I guess it's new.
CCM, or you talking
No,
about
partnership, Connecticut
Oh,
partnership.
okay, 'cause
Yeah, I
CCM
met with
does-
They
the partner.
usually communicate with us when
Okay.
they
Yeah,
They
have
can hand that
something
out as
Sure
part
they
of the
will.
agreement.
Okay, no problem, I don't think there's no financial
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
but I just didn't know if they offered us
That's a good idea.
anything.
Sign it.
I haven't seen any literature on it yet.
I
Okay.
haven't.
Need a motion to
Good to know. what's up
authorize
for
me
it.
to sign.
Yeah, I'd have to make a,
Agreement.
motion to have, First Selectman Keeney sign the, participation agreement.
Second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Discussion and possible action on proposed amendment ordinance, amendment to ordinance for land use department, schedule fees. This is something that Jen Roy is gonna speak on, something that was mentioned at her last Board of Selectmen meeting. And, she's got some follow-up information.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is, two separate requests, two-part. The first one, we already discussed regarding, increasing, it's just a minor change to our schedule of fees. In chapter 114, under building official, increasing the minimum permit fee from $30 to $40. So that's the first request.
And to that note, Bill, I've reached out to our accountants as well, for some guidance on the fee structure. They said GASB doesn't have any specific guidance, however, FASB has some relevant guidance. We would be considered a principal in terms of issuing permits to the customer, instead of an agent, which would be much like collecting fees for the state. So since we are considered a principal, we would show a budgeted expense with a matching revenue. And I just got this information today, or else we would have had it on the agenda. But so at next Thursday's meeting, I'll have an appropriation request for you guys. I'll work with Jen in the meantime to get an idea of what our number of permits might be. And the request would be for an appropriation with a matching revenue, 'cause every $10 that we take in would funnel right back out as well, so there wouldn't really be, any impact to the taxpayer, but we will show it on the books.
I guess,
How would you know how much that's gonna be? I mean,
It's
you got an
$10
estimate.
per permit, so we'll look historically, if we've done, 900 permits in a year, times 10, we would make a $9,000 budget. Most likely increase that based on our current, building official. And if the expense goes over, we can always ask for an appropriation based on the fact that we would also have overage in the revenue line item as well.
could we do this like through a special fund or something? I mean, I'm just concerned like in the future, I mean, it's not a line you could cut, 'cause we're always gonna have the expense, but.
Right.
I mean, what? I mean, 'cause like to Tim's point, I mean, it may fluctuate, so.
I'm trying to think if there's we don't have a special revenue fund in place for anything with building permits right now.
I mean, what I would envision is you put all the permit stuff into the special fund, and then whatever is excess that doesn't have a direct cost, like this permit, then you put it into the general fund as revenue, like we do with the ambulance. You kind of appropriate it over, but, I don't know, I mean, you guys sound like you have a pretty good handle on it, I mean, I know Mike, you've done a lot of this, I'll defer to you,
It's
but,
probably not significant enough to have a special fund, really.
Yeah,
like $5,000-6,000 a year or
it's
something.
not-
And honestly, it'd probably be best to overestimate and come in under, so if we overestimated, say, and we said,
Yeah.
hey, we'll do 1,500, we make it 15,000 with a 15,000 revenue, and we only do 1,200, then we're fine.
I guess my question would be, why would we do that now? We don't, I mean, a budget is an estimate, and we will then change the rate, and we'll begin charging, and then we'll have that activity. We don't even know if we're going to have that kind of activity that would actually require us to have a request for an appropriation. So, I would.
We know we're gonna have building permits.
Well, we've
Yeah, well, of
historically
course you
had
are, but
probably
you're
700 to 900
you're gonna make it through
permits a
the
year.
first quarter of the year,
Really?
maybe even the
Mhm.
first half of the year, and not even approach what that budget is, and you would look at your run rate, and then you would say, oh, now it looks like we need an appropriation, and then we go forth. The Board of Finance, we can come in front of them anytime during the year with appropriation, and that's a reasonable request for an appropriation. The fact that we are now utilizing a service which has caused us to increase the fee, and it just offsets.
No, I'm fine with all that, I guess my thing would be, 10 years from now, when technology is different or things change, we're essentially would potentially be overcharging people $10, because say we go off this platform, there's no longer a fee, we
would
then
have to
should
reduce
decrease the permits by $10, you know what I'm saying? I wanna make sure we remember.
Would it be more beneficial to make it a separate fee then, instead of just
Like a
an
surcharge.
increase? Right, instead of being an increase to the and I know Jen and I have been back and forth on this, and we've discussed it both ways, and so, would it be more beneficial to make it its own separate fee that we collect and that we show, and then should the day come, like you said, if if we move to a different platform, that fee's eliminated, or increased or changed based on what the new platform is?
Yeah, I'm fine with it, I mean,
We're-
you guys, I
that's
think,
fine.
whatever you recommend.
We wanna roll around in the accounting.
I'll leave it up
I
to
thought
you guys.
you were letting us do that, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, get a motion first.
Well, it only came up after I raised it 2 weeks ago, and obviously talked to the auditors, it needs to be thought through, so,
I'd like to,
They're still thinking it through.
yeah,
well, they hadn't before.
Go ahead, Bob.
So.
yeah. I'd like to make a motion to amend our building official fee schedule. The building and trade permit fees minimum from $30 to $40.
We can't do that though, right? Don't we sit in a public hearing?
No, we can do that tonight.
We can amend an ordinance just by a vote?
Yeah, we can increase the fee.
There's a section, I didn't bring
You
that.
got your town attorney right
There-
here, he can weigh in
The
for you.
section, no, in our charter, it does say that by a vote of the Board of Selectmen, you can do minor changes. That's why this is two-part.
Yeah.
There's,
Right. That's why we're doing the first one.
the second half is
Separate.
adding schedules of fees that are not actually listed, and I discussed it with Carl, and that's what he suggests, the second part
Right.
be public hearing.
That's fine, okay.
But this minor change, yes, by vote, it does say in
So
the
we
charter.
can raise it, okay.
Have a
Correct.
second for the
I'll
motion?
second it, yep.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next item, Jen?
So the second part, in going through this with the building permits, we realized, that in this chapter with schedule of fees, it does not list any schedule of fees for our sanitarian or public works permits that we take in. So these are fees that we have traditionally had these fee schedules, well, not schedules specifically, but
Yeah, you're taking this revenue in, and now
these fees have been charged, right?
Yeah, right.
And, I'm not sure who had purview over the sanitarian fees, I think maybe the WPCA,
Well, the Board of Selectmen always
oversaw
usually
them, or
oversaw
from-
But they were
That's-
setting them, I mean, I think WPCA like kept the schedule, but
Right,
they
right.
basically have
They
the
don't-
authority.
They did, but Steve Jacobs always came to the Board of
Came back,
Selectmen
okay.
for,
Okay.
absolutely.
So really, it should be listed in this ordinance.
Yeah, agreed.
So my proposal, or request is that you, schedule a public hearing and then after that vote to add, Article 5 and Article 6. Article 5, sanitarian fees with attached schedule, Article 6, public works fees with attached schedule, and the only change in anything that we've been charging under public works, we have two permits, a right-of-way, work within the right-of-way, and a driveway permit, and we've typically charged $25 for that. Todd Rowland checked area towns, and we wanna actually start putting this on the permit link. We
Yep.
could actually issue it in this new software, so we're suggesting that it be a $50 fee.
Okay.
Do we need the fire marshal, fees on here too?
He's already, that section is building official and fire marshal are under one section.
Okay, all right, so it's part of the building official, okay, great.
No, this all makes sense, you're doing a good job with this.
So we just need a motion to,
What's the date of the public hearing?
May 19th is what I recommend.
7 o'clock?
That's a regular meeting that we
Yes,
have?
sir.
Second meeting in May, Thursday night.
Yeah, so you need a motion to have, a public hearing
Right.
to amend our fee ordinance for section 114, to add Article 5 to the health department fee schedule, and Article 6, public works fee schedule. And we'll have a hearing on this, on May 19th, 2022.
7
Right.
PM?
7
And
PM, yeah.
Very
Okay,
good.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
All right.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is, discussion and possible action on senior center supervisor position salary increase. Director Purcell.
Good evening, everybody. Maureen Purcell, Director of Recreation and Leisure Services. I was here a couple of weeks ago, with a recommendation, to discuss the, difficulty that we've been having, finding a replacement for the senior center supervisor. I asked CCM to do a survey of some surrounding towns, to find out what, some of the, salaries are for their senior center coordinators, and assistant admin support, to find out what that next step would be. I forwarded you all, the information with a spreadsheet. You'll see there is a significant difference in, some of the salaries for admin support and what we are offering. So it is my recommendation, that we increase the salary. The range that we originally posted the position was 40 to 44,000. And I am recommending that we increase, the salary to $44,000 to $48,000 range, with the hopes that we will find a qualified, candidate.
I make a motion that we, adjust the salary range for the senior center supervisor as recommended to $44,000 to $48,000.
Second that?
I think discussion.
Okay, I mean, do we think $4,000 gonna make a difference?
Well, I'd like to see it increase to 50, because I think 50 there's a $6,000 difference there rather than a $4,000 difference.
Yeah, well, everything I'm hearing on the
It
news.
says up to 50, so it depends on the applicant and.
Everything I'm hearing on the news, there's a shortage of workers out
Yes,
there.
there are.
And, obviously, you haven't been able to get anybody really to apply, to qualify. And you've been doing 2 jobs now for 2 months, right? More than 2 months? More than 2 months. So I would think that, I would agree with Selectman Keeney, that I think 50,000 would be, an incentive, because I don't think we're gonna get people unless we have an attractive salary.
I will mention, about, a half an hour before this meeting, I received an email from somebody who works at a local senior center. And I had mentioned in the last meeting that I was surprised that we did not get any applications from anybody that works at a senior center. And I have recently, well, within a half an hour, received a resume, and an email from somebody, who is interested in the position, but the salary, is too low. She's looking closer to on the low end of 55,000.
Yeah,
So
I hear ya.
raising it up to 50, may help. And I will definitely reach out to this person, if we can get that passed.
That's the reality of
Okay,
2020.
you wanna amend the motion?
Yeah,
I made the motion, so,
Yeah, we can make the motion.
so I guess what I would say is that I'm willing to go to 50, but if this doesn't work, we're gonna go back and also consider reorganization.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I mean, I'm willing to support this kind of as the final step. And again, if we can't make this work, then, you know, I think we have to look at something else. I'm not going any higher, you know, so. I amend the motion, to make the salary range $44,000 to $50,000, for the
Second.
senior center supervisor.
A second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the, motion to raise the senior center supervisor position salary from up to $50,000, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. I think we'd like to kind of go on, 'cause I think we're
Thank
close to the end of the Board of Selectmen meeting.
How much time is Mr. Perks, or Attorney Perks gonna need? You gonna need more than 3 minutes?
Well,
You can
how much
recess
time?
and then-
I'll start, and, what do you want to adjourn and then start?
Do you wanna
the next
recess
meeting?
and- I think-
Somebody's paying for Mr. Park's time, I think.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, I think we should let.
he's the only guy that's making money in this room.
I think we should.
What's
I'll,
No, I'd rather have you go now.
Okay.
I really
Okay.
would.
But we do have to stop at 7 though, because we have a notice public
all
hearing.
right,
Yeah.
I think I got 4 minutes.
You guys
But we can go
Well,
after.
we can give a few minutes, actually.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, we
if,
can.
Get a little
if any of
flexibility.
you have driven down, old, Hamden Road, you know it's in poor shape. And if you haven't, I would suggest you do.
One question is why you're driving on to begin with, right?
Because I got a call. But, you know, I have a property owner that bought in, 2017. He actually ended up buying the, Jordantis' old house, because he couldn't get the, people down there to build. And, in 2017, when, Lisa Pellegrini was the first selectman, she directed the, Roland to, improve it, and he did, pretty good job with, limited resources, I think. But then nothing's been done to maintain it. And, no one down there can use their property because, it's unreliable. And it's been a place where, partiers have gathered. And I think in everybody's best interest, if the town were to invest a little bit of their resources to improve it, we gotta get that one house down there, and I think the party problem goes away, because right now, nobody's looking. And when I went down there, the night I went down there was a truck, it was maybe a 435 Massachusetts plates, of course, you're right on the Mass line.
Oh, sure.
Parked there, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
thinking, yeah, go a little bit south and.
Well, then look what they do at IFO. They make a mess out of IFO all the time. I mean.
What kind of improvements is your client looking for?
Well, passable by a normal motor vehicle, not necessarily a four-wheel drive truck. Right now, it's, questionable. We got close to getting the millings off of, Mountain Road, back in 2017, but they ended up over at Idaho, which would have solved the problem.
Okay.
I gave you guys a handout, gives you a little background,
Yeah, that's helpful.
you're getting the LoSiP money every year for dirt roads. This is probably, I would say, a mile long.
I think it's about 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, close.
Yep.
Close.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you, yeah.
We motion to approve the minutes of, April 7 for two, there's a
Yeah.
special meeting and a regular meeting.
Yeah,
First
I'll
select.
be happy to make a motion to approve, the minutes of the special meeting on April 7th, 2022, that was held in the Selectmen's Conference Room, and also make a motion to approve the, regular meeting minutes of April 7th, 2022.
Second it.
Any discussion on the minutes?
Fine with me?
All those in support of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Did you include both of those in that motion?
Yes, I did. I did have both of them.
You gonna adjourn?
We'll adjourn.
Okay. I just gotta stop the recording.
Meeting adjourned.